Hey everyone, it's T. For this video, I wanted to talk about T.I. If you guys aren't aware of the situation, what had happened was rapper T.I. he went on this podcast called Ladies Like Us. The episode has now since been deleted, but on the podcast he told this story about how he goes with his daughter to yearly gynecologist appointments, and he talks with the doctor to make sure that her hymen is intact. A lot of people have said pretty much my feelings on that. Kim from For Harriet, T from Nappy Headed Jojoba, and Ready to Glare are a few examples of people who basically have mirrored my feelings on the situation, and I'll link their videos or the videos to the live streams in which they talked about it below if I can find them. But basically, it's pretty gross, especially when your daughter is 18, which is what he was insinuating, that he was going to these appointments, speaking with the doctor to make sure that her hymen was intact. Some people don't have hymens, and they can, be easily broken. And he even mentioned that the doctor explained to him that certain activities like riding a bike, playing sports, riding a horse, all of those things can break one's hymen, and he just wasn't having it. And he was just like, well, let me know if it's still intact. And he was like, well, as of her 18th birthday, that's still intact. Like, that's something to be proud of. I mean, yeah, cool, I guess. But it's just weird. It was all very weird. Anyway, he came out on Jada Pinkett's Red Table Talk, her Facebook show, I guess, with his wife Tiny to talk about the situation. A lot of backpedaling. I don't pretty much believe anything that he has to say. This is pure damage control to me. But I did see a kind of snippet of what he said on Rogue Rocket's Instagram, which is Philip DeFranco's kind of news station now, his news platform about the thing. But there's also a pretty good People magazine article on it, and I have that in front of me, so that's kind of where I'm gonna go from for my reactions. So coming from the article, T.I. is quoted as saying, "I came to clear up any misconceptions that have been surrounding how we interact and parent and what is appropriate and inappropriate." And he describes the conversation that he had as very jokingly. And he went on to say, "From a place of truth, I began to embellish and exaggerate, and I think a lot of people took it extremely literal." In the clip that I saw of him talking about it, he said he never said that the mother wasn't present. He never said that he didn't get permission from his daughter for this as well, which I all feel are kind of like backpedaling. I mean, in the original stories, in the original clips, I'm sure you can find them floating around somewhere. He did not make any of this clear. The way he told it was he took it upon himself to ensure his child's virginity. And, there's nothing wrong with wanting your child to stay a virgin as long as possible. As someone who became sexually active in my early teens, I kind of wish I waited. I would encourage my children to wait, but I know that's also not realistic at the same time. I mean, kids are going to do what they're going to do, obviously. And not only that, but to place virginity at such a high level when apparently he didn't have the same energy with his son who lost his virginity at 13, 14. That seems kind of fishy to me. So I feel like him backpedaling, saying, "Oh, everyone took things so literally, I was exaggerating." Why would you even exaggerate that kind of story? Why would you think that that would be an acceptable story to tell in the first place? That's your daughter's business, dude. That's not your business to go out there and tell how you're out here protecting her virtue, quote unquote. Like, that's really none of your affair, especially when she's, 18. An 18-year-old girl should be allowed to do whatever an 18-year-old girl wants to do, regardless of what you say. He also went on later to say that the visits were made when his daughter was younger, and that, like I mentioned, neither his daughter or her mother had any objections to him being there at the time. Which, going back to what I said earlier, none of this was specified in the story, and he mentioned that, oh, as of her 18th birthday, that's still intact. Like, to me, that says that I've been doing this for forever. It's not about her being younger. It's about me being the virginity police. He did apologize to his daughter because he did come out and say that she did have a problem with him talking about it, which I understand. That's an embarrassing thing to have your dad talk about. Not only to, like, people you don't know, but the entire world, like, listening to the podcast. I don't know why he thought it wouldn't gain as much traction as it got. And then he also went on to say that his comments didn't come from a place of trying to control his daughter. He said, "I'm here to protect all of the children from themselves until they make it to a point where they have awareness, a sense of self, and discernment to be able to make certain decisions on their own that will impact their lives indefinitely. I'm not there to protect necessarily virginity. I just know that it's a big move." Here's the thing. If he was concerned about his daughter getting an STD, he is aware that there are other ways you can get an STD. You can get an STD from oral sex, from anal sex. It doesn't necessarily have to be vaginal intercourse. So for him to be all like, oh, I'm not trying to be out here protecting her virginity. I'm just out here trying to make sure she's safe. But then again, he didn't have that same energy apparently on his show when his 13, 14-year-old son was like, hey, Dad, I lost my virginity. Like, they high-fived. Way to go, dude. Like, yeah. Keep the same energy. If it's okay for your 13, 14-year-old son to be having sex at that age, why is it not okay for your daughter? Why is your son's virtue being protected? Why isn't your son getting the same kind of treatment? And why are you not seemingly concerned about him catching an STD? Or, as a matter of fact, getting a girl pregnant? It's not the same energy, and it's really kind of gross and disgusting that he even decided to tell that kind of a story. The other thing that kind of gets me, that originally bothered me about the situation, and it also bothers me now, is the way the women who are engaging in this discussion with him are acting about it. Like, in the original podcast, the hosts were kind of like laughing about it, treating it as a joke, instead of calling him out on it and being like, hey dude, that's fucked up, that's gross. Why would you even tell us this story, for one? And B, why are you out here being the virginity police? Your hymen can break for any reason, not just sex. It kind of wasn't a laughing moment, especially at, his daughter's expense. Like, if that were my dad, or a male relative of mine, I'd be mortified. Absolutely fucking mortified. And the women on the original podcast treated it like it was a joke. And from what I saw of the clips from Rogue Rocket, of the talk that he had with Jada and the other host there, it all seemed kind of understanding, forgiving, like they were handling the situation and T.I. with kid gloves, instead of being like, hey, that was really fucked up. Why didn't you keep the same energy with your son and protecting his virtue? Why would you even bother to tell that story? Why would you try to not, instead of educate your child about safe sex, be concerned about her hymen, when there are other ways to catch STDs or get in trouble, so to speak? I feel like they were too light on him, and I feel like his wife, Tiny, was also, has been too light on him. Like, at least in public, I don't know what the deal is in private with them, but in public, like, she ain't really saying nothing about it. She seemed to be kind of on his side with it. And I get being on your man's side, and I get that that's her stepdaughter as well. But at the same time, I feel like Tiny should have been at least in a more public space. Maybe she did it in private, but in like a public space, I would also kind of be like, because that's not right. That's not, cool to do to any woman. So maybe I would have said something like, this matter has been discussed between me and my husband. I do not approve. And going forward, we're going to make sure that something like this isn't occurring with our children. I don't know. I don't have any kids, and I'm not a celebrity, so I wouldn't know about how to handle a PR nightmare. But to me, this seems like just damage control, that they're just trying to wash away any kind of negative press that they're getting. And I don't blame them, but at the same time, it's kind of like, why backpedal? You should have just fucking apologized, which he did. He did, apologize to his daughter on the Red Table Talk. But it's like been 3-4 weeks now. I feel like that apology should have came sooner instead of just having radio silence, and he's just trying to squash the PR nightmare. What do you guys think about this situation? Do you think T.I.'s comments now are okay? Do you accept and understand the situation better? Or do you still think it's gross? Let me know in the comments below. Alright, I will see you guys next time. Bye. Bye, bye, bye.